Former governor of Minnesota and current runner-up for the most boring man on earth, Tim Pawlenty. And by the way, he's runner-up to Wolf Blitzer of CNN. He went on Crossfire, and he's going to give us an awesome admission here.
Let's be truthful with each other. This is a holistic problem, and to take a slice and say it's about the minimum wage is at the very least not complete.
Is that what you're
When
saying?
I was a governor, I signed a minimum wage increase.
Yep.
And look, I said if we're going to
I
have...
salute you for that.
Well, thank you. And I've also vetoed some.
And it actually did. It had a very positive effect in Minnesota.
Well, let me just say, look, if we're going to have a minimum wage, I think reasonable periodic increases in it are okay. But jumping from where we are now to a, quote, living wage, it's over $10 an hour, would be quite a shock to the system.
A shock to the system to pay a living wage. A living wage. Okay, did you know that if the minimum wage was equal to what it was in 1968, if you adjust for inflation, it would be $10.50 an hour today? All right, we can't even go back to that, what it was in 1968. If it was equal to the productivity of the workers, which is what they actually should be earning, because everybody says capitalism is a rising tide that lifts all boat, and it's a meritocracy, so the harder you work, the further you go. However productive you are is how much money you're going to make. Okay, well, if it was equal to productivity, it would be about $15 an hour today. And that's one of the more conservative numbers. So what are we talking about here? He just admitted he has no problem with people working a full-time job and not making the bare minimum amount of money to survive. That's what a living wage is. And also, there's another layer of irony here, which is this guy's a Republican. If you are a Republican, you're supposed to be in favor of small government. Okay, well, government would be smaller if you raised the minimum wage to a living wage. Now, why is that? Because as of today, people make $7.25 an hour. They don't make enough money to survive. So the government has to come in there and pick up the slack in the form of food stamps and Medicaid and other social safety net programs. And we would be able to greatly limit those programs, shrink those programs, if we made the companies that hire these people for less for a minimum wage, if we made them pay the right amount, if we made them pay a living wage. Because then they wouldn't have to go to the government to pick up the slack. I mean, people are always going to need to survive. So somebody's going to have to make up the difference. Right now, it's the taxpayer. Okay, but if you raise the minimum wage to a living wage, it wouldn't be the taxpayer anymore. Those companies themselves would have to pick up the slack. And that's why the companies are the actual welfare queens here. It's Walmart that's the biggest welfare queen. They get tremendous subsidies from the federal government and from state governments. It's McDonald's and the fast food places that are actually the welfare queens. They get, what was the number? Something ridiculous. Over $7 billion subsidized every year, something like that. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. And this is also why Crossfire is a joke. Because, and don't get me wrong here, Robert Reich was on the panel with him. He's a fantastic guy. He has a great movie about income inequality in America, and he's a good progressive, okay? But the reason why Crossfire is a joke is that you're debating things that aren't debatable. You're giving the false illusion. This is just what they do with climate change also on CNN, where you have one guy arguing it's not happening, the other guy arguing it is happening. You're not helping when you do that, because it's not a 50-50 proposition. It's a 99.999 proposition to 0.001 proposition. That's what the scientific community is divided. That's how the experts are divided. Same thing when it comes to raising the minimum wage to a living wage. If you're against a living wage, you're in favor of wage slavery, which means you want people to work and not make enough money to survive. That's a defensible position? It's not debatable, which, again, you're not helping by debating this. And I love when he said he raised the minimum wage when he was governor of Minnesota. And he did. But let me give you the numbers. So he signed the raise in 2005, but he vetoed another increase, I should say, in 2008. And he took the wage from $4.90 an hour to $5.25 an hour. And remember, this is $2005, so very similar to today's dollars. Oh, yeah. Oh, you lion trying to help out the workers, you. Yeah, are you out there picketing with the AFL-CIO on the weekends? Is that what you do? Please, man, he doesn't deserve any credit for doing that.